So we wanted the topic was Mike wants to know about the concert, but before we go to this big concert that happened in Croatia, I just wanted to ask Alexander about the visit of the, let's say, of the top of the Serbian church to Moscow. They met the patriarch and they met Putin. As I understood this trip, their proposition is, I can quote them the words they were saying. So basically what they said was that the Serbian church is a small boat, and if there will be any political reshuffling, they would like to see this small Serbian boat tied to the much bigger and much stronger Russian boat, like the Russian church. So what I read from this was like that's the let's say the top of the Serb church was in some kind of a diplomatic mission for the regime that's in power in Serbia, like to get the support to end the demonstrations, something like that. So I would like to ask Alexander if I'm reading that's right.
Yeah, Tony, it's you're pretty close, I must say. That meeting has nothing spiritual, nothing of real theological substance, let's say. It's a purely political thing. It's a scream for political support from Moscow. President Vučić and his cabal use church, who is also some people in the church are also part of that cabal, to get the political support of the Vučić system that's at the moment pretty shaken. And, that visit hasn't been received so well among us, let's call us patriotic anti-government crowd. It's pure politics. And actually the main guy during the visit was the second guy, the older guy, who has a lot of power in a church. He's Bishop Irenaeus. Vladika Irine, he's the brain of that fraction of the church who is supporting the government. That's it. But that's we have so many events, in the country that are, happening, and that happened since then that, people don't talk much about that visit anymore. It was very obvious what was it. A beg for a support.
Well, I hear that Vučić is going to ensure his popularity with the Serbian people by importing 100 Africans from Ghana as Gustav by
100,000, Mike.
100,000 Africans from Ghana to ensure his popularity with the Serbian people.
Yeah, yeah. People are like, it's practically for many people hard to believe that, but I think it's true. His main support base is the Soros international cabal. I'll use that word again.
Oh, you mean the Serbian people didn't ask him to do this?
No. We love Ghanaians. We love our African friends, but not so much. This is an overblown love,
As long as they stay in Africa.
No, even a few of them can come here with a reason, if they open a company or if they marry, but not 100,000 of them. I'm suspicious of these 100,000 people actually being maybe some sort of a soldiers, military force in civilian outfits. But that's my personal speculation. I don't have any proof for that. I'm just comparing, what is happening in the United States.
Soros was the main funder of Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter $33 million. Black Lives Matter was the militia that was allowed to run rampage all over the United States, and nobody ever held them accountable for anything.
Yeah.
Never. They could burn buildings down in city after city and nobody, they were never held accountable for anything they did.
I can tell, Aleksandar, in Croatia, we do employ some, I think, 70,000 Nepalese. So how they ended there, basically in COVID, this was this huge explosion of food delivery services. We had Volt and Bolt coming here, and as soon as we let Volt and Bolt in, the law was changed to sue them, to employ, like it was some kind of a change in the workforce law that allowed for aggregators. So basically now Volt can employ some guy without being responsible for him. And Bolt and Volt together, they employ some 50,000 Nepalese food delivery guys. So there you go.
50,000.
We have them already here. Yeah. We have them here, and well, so far there are no problems, I guess. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, well, we've been lucky so far. From the Asian people, most of our immigration were Chinese. But they're overall very good people, law-abiding. They stay in their quarters, don't mix terribly. That's how they like it. They do business. They're productive. They especially help poor levels of the society to stay afloat by buying cheap goods, you know. Although they don't sell only cheap goods, but for people with low income, it's important to have access to Chinese stores. But that you know, that is a typical, that is a form that it's repeating itself from country to country. It's Count Kalergi's plan.
Yeah. Do you know the Chinese
decimate Europe, destroy the white race, just like Susan Sontag said that white race is the most toxic race on the planet. I'm quoting freely. She said something very similar to that. And Vučić is Alex Soros' poodle, one of many. That's it. Now, we are especially under fire. I'm sorry, Mike, I forgot to say this. We're especially under fire because, as I said in our previous show, people in the West perceive us as the Balkan Russians, the Serbs, you know, because we're Slavic and we're Eastern Orthodox. So a long time plan is, I'm sure, to obliterate Serbs totally, and therefore erase the possibility of Russians through the Serbs reaching the Mediterranean basin and the Adriatic coast. That's in their mind, you know, and they're doing that in phases. Slowly, you know, first Montenegro, then the ethnic cleansing in Croatia, that was mostly conducted by NATO. You know, when they removed 250,000 people, the Kosovo. If you look at the map, the Serbs that were expelled from the southern parts that are closer to the Adriatic coast to the northern parts.
Wait a minute. Are you saying NATO is collaborating with Russia in the
NATO did the ethnic cleansing of the Serbs in Croatia by using Croatian forces in '95.
Well, I have to just to intervene.
I know you will say something about that.
yeah. Well, the only ethnic group that NATO was directly ethnically cleansing were the Bosnian Croats. It's actually it was a program called some kind of righteous ownership rule that basically removed some, I think it was some 70,000 Croatians out of their homes they were living into in Bosnia, right? It's mostly around Banja Luka, I think, Vitez.
Yeah, the Croatian canton in Bosnia.
Yeah. The central Bosnia, because those guys were basically living in other people's houses because their houses were occupied by other people. But and like say this NATO forces, the official line was that they are settling this problem, like they're resolving this problem, and they are moving out everybody that doesn't have the proper ownership papers for their houses. and the only people they removed were the Croatians, were the Catholics.
Okay,
And
that part, but
so not in Herzegovina, but more in central Bosnia. Why they did it? I don't know. It was Albright and Galbraith's idea how to solve the Bosnian problem or something.
Albright and Galbraith, I like that.
Yeah, but but the only people that raised their voice against this were the Bosnian clergy. The current parish priest in Banja Luka was and the bishop in Banja Luka were the only guys protesting that. The Croatian, let's say, political leadership was silent about this practice. Why? I really don't know. Maybe we should go to the concert if we want to. If you Mike.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I must say I was out of the country, so I missed some news, latest news, deliberately.
I wanted to, while you were talking about importing workers, the Chinese have set up garment factories in Italy, where the Chinese are total slaves. They're kept in little compounds, but after they do that, they can say of their products made in Italy. That's why they're doing that. They're subverting the Italian garment industry by having these Chinese colonies there.
Right. The thing I was saying actually about the Chinese was only about the Belgrade. Let's not have illusions that Chinese are awfully good people. They are giving us trouble in the provincial parts when they don't care much about the ecological regulations. They build some factories, like a tire factory that's polluting awful. A big coal mine is owned by them right now. And they don't care much about the ecology. And who is to blame for that? Not the Chinese. I don't blame them. They are business people. You know, they are trying to make a dollar on a cent, you know. Government is closed because with Chinese you can talk. Greeks had some problem with the Chinese factories, and they talked to them, and the Chinese abide. You know, they accepted the Greeks, objections. These people here don't have cojones to talk.
You're talking about the Serbs. The Serbs.
I'm talking about Vučić. Yeah.
Okay.
Situation in Serbia.
My daughter-in-law.
So the Chinese in Belgrade and the Chinese outside of Belgrade, it's not the same.
Yeah. My daughter-in-law grew up in Vladivostok.
Yeah.
And she said when the Chinese showed up in Vladivostok, all the dogs disappeared from the streets.
Yeah. I know about the Phoenix. I used to travel to Phoenix often, Scottsdale, and the birds disappeared from Scottsdale because a lot of Vietnamese immigrants moved. So the police were bewildered at the beginning. Where are the birds? Why we don't have our pigeons, our ravens? And then they figure out.
So I was in a let me just tell this anecdote because it's really important from a geopolitical point of view. So I'm in a sauna in the South Bend Health Club, and I'm talking about my visit to Africa, and there's a Chinese guy in there. And after he hears me say Africa, he says, "Oh, I was once in Africa. In Africa, we were so hungry, we eat the dog."
Oh my God.
So everybody in the sauna is totally appalled because this is the worst thing you can say about a Chinaman, that he eats dogs. And here's this Chinese guy telling, we catch a dog, we put bacon in the towel, we throw the towel at the dog, and then we eat the dog. Nobody knows what to say. Everybody's paralyzed at this point. And I said, well, we eat dogs too. We eat hot dogs.
All right.
And the Chinaman said, that's not the same. That's not the same.
Right.
When I was
for Chinese, for Singaporean people, dogs are like poultry, like pork chops. Cultural difference. But
when I was in China, the Chinese, when I was in Beijing, they learned me what animals the Chinese cannot eat. So in China, it's absolutely forbidden to eat the animals that have their stomach turned to the sun. So,
aha, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I recommend also.
But the point is, no such animal exists. So basically,
Right,
they can eat any animal. So.
Right. I recommend you guys, when you get a chance, see a Danish thriller, very well known in cinematic underground circles. It's called In China They Eat Dogs, and it's also about the Serbian mafia in Denmark. Directed by a famous world director, Nicolas Winding Refn, which is a very interesting director. He deals with his movies into a Christianity too, but this movie was his early phase. So it's an interesting title. In China They Eat Dogs.
Yeah.
Part of his trilogy.
Yeah.
I'm done with Nicholas.
All right, let me ask you a question. We Tony and I discussed the concert the last time, and the question is, was this opposition to the concert Jewish propaganda, or did the Serbian people feel this was a genuine threat, that 500,000 people would show up and listen to Thompson talk about?
No, well, it was a slap. It was an insult. We don't perceive it as a threat. We perceive it as a neighborly insult. That's it. Because the concert was organized on the 28th of June, which is our holiest holiday. That's when the battle on Kosovo in 1389 happened. And it's a very important holiday for us. And also our enemies always pick 28th of June to serve us some bad news or do some bad things to us, like the Kumanovo Agreement, when the Serbia was, after 78 days, had to pull back from the war in 99, was signed on 28th of June also, and a few other things. So it's a routine for us.
Okay, what do you think that was intentional, Tony? An act of aggression against the Serbs?
Of course it wasn't. Sure.
No, really, people in Croatia don't really know about the Kosovo thing, and
the organizers do.
Yeah, the organizers asked for the date in May. They wanted to do it in May. Why? Because there was also a political coincidence, because local elections. It was like the idea was to bring it on before the local elections, but you have the final say has the Zagreb government, and the Zagreb government is actually let's say some kind of green far left thing, and they said no, we don't do it in May, we can do it in August or whatever. So basically it was done. The date actually changed from May to this other date because of this leftist green government in Zagreb that wanted to make sure that it was not before the local elections, and B, that it was already in the tourist season, so fewer people will show up. So that was the thing behind the dates.
But it couldn't be June 27th or 29th.
Yeah, I really don't know what did the local authorities gave some kind of a date list and they picked it up, or they said just a month, and I don't know. But the original idea and the organizers' idea, and let's say the political momentum, was May, before the local elections, but it was refused, and it was intentionally driven, after that. And in the tourist season, so it gets less.
Well, was it hijacked? Was it hijacked by the bureaucrats who had to give the permit? Are they the ones who chose the 28th?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Was it weaponized? Was it weaponized?
No, this is the first time I heard about the 28th, some kind of a problem. I really, people in Croatia don't know about this date.
Well, read about press. Yeah. No, people in Croatia don't know, but the organizers do. And also, I firmly believe and I'm not the only one, that actually Thompson is a state project.
No, it's not a state project. So
He's
Thompson is basically
he's an intelligence asset to us.
Yeah, no way. So what Thompson? So let's do a background about Thompson. So what you get, let's say the start of Thompson's popularity was the war, the start of the war in Croatia. So the guy is a volunteer from the village of Čavoglave. It's a village right in the Bosnian border. It's a Croatian village that's under attack by mostly the Banja Luka Corps. It's let's say military unit from Bosnia and Herzegovina with some Serb volunteers, and they are defending their village. So that's it. His first song that he gained popularity was this, let's say, war song. That's okay. It's kind of, you have the wider picture is there are like very few of them. You know, the armament is lousy. They don't have any big guns. You know, Croatia is just forming. You know, just on the way to the independence, and you have a much stronger and much better armed enemy that's coming from the other republic and wants to capture their village. And so it's pretty legitimate stuff, and it was you know, like a morality booster. It has this militaristic, let's say, national charge, but it's kind of his beginnings, and he was not that popular before. But as the time goes on, he's on the verge. You know, he's this national figure, like a hero. He defended his village. He was on the weaker side. They were worst off, but they did it. They defended it in spite of the international and especially the American political class and international, you know, grievances. And then, but later he's like on the verge. Will he go in this kind of a godless nationalism, or he will go into something more positive? And so his later opus is more religious, like historical, and he kind of goes to the good side. But to say that he is some kind of a project, some kind of a state project, well, no, he was not, because basically you had the situation that the ruling party, let's say the right ruling party, was frightened of him because they kind of feared, because basically we have the ruling right was, I think that it was decade and a half ruling.
When you say ruling right, which party is that? Are you talking about
it's HDZ, yes, Croatian Democratic Union.
Yes.
Yeah, so basically
they collaborate with Vučić, by the way.
Yeah, they have. What's the point with this party? They have a lot of let's say converted communists inside, and they are always up to this point. They were always they had a coalition with the Serb minority in Croatia. So Thompson was not someone that they would like to sing in these elections or in this pre-election, you know, periods. He was too dangerous because of the anti-communist charge and because of this, you know, war stuff. So he was pretty much avoided, and he was basically every single, let's say, mainstream media in Croatia like hates him. So, and you know that the media.
Why? Because of what? Because he's religious, or because he's a nationalist?
Yeah, first all Croatian media are anti-Catholic, so that's just that's the way it is. I think that they would prefer him to be nationalist than Catholic. His let's say swing to Catholicism is the frightening thing here.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah. Who would support him? From your perspective, Alexander, who would benefit by supporting him?
Well, obviously, this is something new for me. I believe that, Tony is right. This makes sense totally what Tony said. But overall, I didn't delve too much into Thompson. It's not like a kind of music I like. But to me, it appeared that, and not to me only, to many people, he's guided by states. State has its own artists that they're in close ties with the artists, and they use them as a part of their power. And they also are careful not to lose them because they have a lot of influence on people. So these guys should be controlled like some couple of folk singers in Serbia. Some woman
Tony, let
called
me
Ceca. She was a wife of the warlord from their war in the 90s, and she's a state property.
Yeah.
Tony, what's the relationship between Thompson and Medjugorje?
That's the thing that I wanted to discuss too, because how he starts? He starts as this soldier defending his homeland, defending his village, like overwhelmed by this big invading army, and they end up victorious. So it's like this has this national touch. Of course, he has also this militaristic. His first song was him in the uniform with the rosary and with his guns and stuff. So it is this patriotic militaristic type, but then it goes full like national, historic, and religious. So what was your question again?
What's the relationship between Medjugorje, which is a religious national movement, or a religious national movement that was supported by the CIA, and Thompson? Is he appealing to the same crowd? Do they believe, or is he different than the Medjugorje crowd?
First, he started his first transition. Let's say his first. I think you can call him, a very smart guy, but I think it was sincere. His first way was into religion, into Catholicism, let's say away from this godless nationalism. But after Vatican, Vatican went full Orthodox. You can see this kind of Vatican political idea in the Francis administration. We'll make concessions with the Orthodox, we'll support the national churches, and the nomination of this new archbishop in Belgrade, like a guy that will welcome these new small churches, and this that will help, the rise of the Orthodox and of this kind of national idea. They also everything in this policy, of course, then resulted in welcoming Medjugorje, not condemning Medjugorje, and condemning Stepinac. So it's all part of the same view and the same political.
Right. Yeah. The Franciscans, I think you were right when you said that the Franciscans wanted to create a Croatian national church. And that's what...
Yes, the Franciscans are de facto Croatian Orthodox Church is the Franciscan monastery there. That's no doubt about it. So I was
at Široki Brijeg, and when I was there, they had all of the Ustasha soldiers, pictures of the Ustasha martyrs, all on the wall there.
God bless them.
Yeah. You have in Serbia the similar thing. Let's say the counterpart of the Ustasha, let's say the Chetniks.
No. Let's not go there. No, Tony. No. I am refusing.
Well, they are both like fascists, and they both collaborated with the
not
fascists.
True. First liberated town in Europe was Loznica, liberated from the Germans in August 1941.
What were Mihajlović followers called? Were they the Chetniks?
Chetniks, yes. Yugoslav army in the country, it's called also. Alternative. Chetniks were, Yugoslav patriots, basically, who decided since the beginning to fight the occupiers and the Germans.
Well, what was Tito? Where did Tito fit into this? Was he?
Well, they were at the beginning. They had negotiations. Mihajlović and Tito met twice, and they even did some mutual actions. But they came to the conclusions that the royalists and God believers, that are Chetniks, cannot do business with the communists. So that short, how should I call it, a collaboration or alliance fall apart pretty quickly, and they were shooting at each other. But it's interesting that the West was supporting the Allies, the Brits, the Americans were supporting
the Brits, the Cambridge
Mihajlović
traders
until 1943.
The Cambridge traders, Kim Philby, they were working in Yugoslavia.
Yes, they were working, and they were, because they were communists, they were selling, they were sending wrong informations about.
That's right. That's what. That's what.
Inept,
that's what Evelyn Waugh said. He was working with them. He said which
is bullshit. They were communists, and they were selling sending informations that were favorable to the communist side.
To Tito. Yeah, that's what.
That's how the Brits switched from Mihajlović into Tito's camp.
Right. Evelyn Waugh says that every time Mihajlović won a battle, they would attribute it to Tito. And that's how MI5.
Mike, okay, let's go a step back. So first, okay, let's take 2 steps back. Okay, first you have this, before the age of nationalism, you have this, let's say, the remnants of Christendom and the Catholicism. So basically, you have these national revolutions that are basically, they're denigrating. They are a step back from Christendom and, let's say, from this Catholic universalism, okay? Right. But as long as it stands in some kind of relationship with the church and in its right place, it is a good thing, okay? It's tolerable and it's positive. You know, this is positive identitarian. But what happens after this modernity? Okay, you have these modernists saying that the church is useless, cannot explain anything. So you have the Germans basically saying, okay, the problem with the Jews and and the Scandinavians, the problem with the Eskimos is because their heads, are different shapes, is the genes, is the DNA. We'll do that's basically a Nazi. Okay, it's a Nazi solution. Right. In Italy, you have another, let's say more softly approach. Okay, like the church is useless. We turn to nationalism. So nation and the language is the new tribe. It's like a new tribalism. You know?
Right.
Now we are like a nation, like it's a big chosen tribe. So we'll do everything to the most moral thing you can do is to further the interest of your new tribe, of your nation. So it's basically corporatism and national interest combined, it's fascism. So basically, and the main promoters of that and the people involved in this, because it was anti-Catholic, there were tons of Jews in these movements, both in Italy and in Croatia. Basically, there is a saying that every Ustasha had its own Jew, or vice versa, every Jew had its own big Ustasha somewhere. So basically, you have this kind of national ideology in the Western world. In the Eastern world, there's no need for this because you already have national churches, and let's say the Eastern churches are let's say their basic, their factory setting is already some kind of ethno-tribalism, but let's say disguised as nationalism. So they are already nationalists, and these guys are leaving, the church, and they are all now modern now, and they are going into this direction. So this is the dynamic. Okay, so you have now the Second World War. Basically, you have Yugoslavia being defeated, wiped out, and the people support like Croatian nationalists on one side, this Croatian Quisling, they just bring it. The occupying armies bring this Croatian guy to rule, and they bring some guy to rule Serbia. Okay, so you have Croatian nationalists. Okay, you have Serb nationalists. They are both, they're both armed wings, are committing crimes. Okay, but now one is good, one is bad.
You
Well,
cannot.
why?
You have to quantify the problem. You cannot compare.
Okay. Just let me finish. Okay, so why? So one.
I mean,
okay, just let me go on. So one of the issue is why now this Serb guy that's called the head chatnik, the Mihajlović, why he's good and why the others bad? Well, because Mihajlović appeared on the cover of New York Times, of the Time magazine. Okay, so it's again this Serb-Jewish alliance, and so now the Jews said that he's like
Jewish alliance.
well, it is a fact. Okay, so now he's
Mihajlović was a puppet of the Jews. Is that what you're saying?
Well, can you explain me why he was on the cover of the Time magazine?
Because it was boosting morale of the Allied forces, just like the Serbian people.
You'd have to tell us when. When did he appear on the cover of Time magazine?
1943, I think, too, before the betrayal. Anyway, I would just say one thing. After he was killed by the communists, after a bogus trial that he was drugged, pretty obviously, General Mihajlović was awarded a Legion of Merit, very distinguished American medal by President Harry S. Truman. You don't give that type of medal to a Nazi collaborator. Arrest my case.
Okay, true. They were not Nazis. They were allied with the fascists, like the Ustasha. So in Croatia, if you were a fascist, you were the Ustasha. And if you were a Nazi, you just joined the Nazis. The Croatians have their own SS thing. It was called the 13th Mountain Division. That was, meant
it was part of the Ustashi troops.
It was not. It was the part of the SS. And it was manned by Muslims and Catholics that left their faith, and they decided that it's this basically the Catholics.
No, Muslim was Handjar division from Bosnia.
Yeah, it was nicknamed Handjar division. Is the 13th
It was
SS.
Ustashi unit that fought on.
No, it was not. It was not the Ustasha. It was the SS. So the Ustasha are fascists. So the main difference, okay, if you want just the fascists are good with the Jews, and they are have more, let's say, refined ideology, and the Nazis, they are more crude and more American, something more childish in a way and more racial. Okay, so basically you have both in Croatia. You had the SS unit for the Croatians, and you have the Ustasha army.
The only real Nazis in Serbia in the Second World War was Zbor by Dimitrije Ljotić, but that was a unit under 5,000 people, and they weren't good fighters, and it's very little, and they were fighting the Chetniks. They were losing the battles by the Chetniks. And they're the only troops that obediently served the Third Reich in Serbia. Chetniks weren't, partisans weren't, but they did. But that was a joke. The problem is that that character, Ljotić, was a schizophrenic character, totally.
This is why I think this is why
he was writing one thing, doing other things to make it short.
I think this is why Stepinac is such an important figure in this regard, because he was caught in the middle. He was caught in the middle. He tried to rein the Ustasha in, and then after they lose, then he's attacked by the communists. The same thing was happening to the Catholic priests in, like Father Fitkow in East Prussia. So the moment he's interrogated by the Nazis, they're ready to send him to Dachau. The only thing that prevented him from being sent to Dachau was the fact that the Soviets came through East Prussia, but as soon as they came through, they arrested him for being a Nazi. So the Catholic Church was caught in the middle here, in the crossfire between these geopolitical forces.
Yeah.
Okay, now can I now say just one thing? It should be maybe good to Aleksandar to hear this. Okay, so the Ustasha, like I said, their official, what they declare about themselves, they are a Croatian national revolutionary movement. Okay, and their symbol is a revolutionary bomb. Okay, it's some kind of a circle with the fire on top of it. Okay, and they have all their insignia. So basically, they are not compatible in any way, shape, or form with Catholicism. So basically, every Catholic priest that was known to be part of the Ustasha was kicked out from the clergy and from the church. Okay.
When?
But what is the problem here? The problem
when
is
they were kicked out, Tony. I don't know.
As soon as their bishop knew about it. I mean.
So during the war, they were kicked out.
Yes.
Or after the war.
No, during the war, as soon as their their bishop or whatever, and it was done. You can trust me on this. So what is the problem here? Okay, the real Catholics were not supportive of the Ustasha thing, but as you have again on the other side, you don't have like this. You have a national religion that is the Serbian National Church, and you have the Jews. So basically, with all of their force, they want to implicate like the Catholic Church being responsible for the Ustasha, and they want to amalgamate it in one let's say one bundle because of their anti-Catholicism and because of their let's say strategic decision that weakening the church will help them out strategically in this area. But I can assure you that like the Catholic, that if you are a Serb and you want some kind of modus vivendi here, you should not attack the church or its intelligentsia, or like to kind of try to bundle it together with this Ustasha thing, because it will result. It can have only bad consequences, because if you weaken the church, you will give fuel to the guys that will do it, that want to resolve it in a modern way, basically Judaizing way, like tooth for the tooth, eye for an eye, that kind of stuff. And by weakening the church, by amalgamating this, you also losing your, let's say, potential negotiating partners here. For example, in the old Yugoslavia, that was far from perfect, and it was not in a good memory by the Croatians. You have this active cooperation between Stepinac and the government in Belgrade. He was warning them about this Jewish influence, and he was also like trying to get some kind of a deal that was called Banovina, like let's say some kind of autonomy for the Croatians to solve the Croatian question. So you have a lot of supporters for this idea, like Croatian autonomy within this former kingdom in Dalmatia, in this, let's say, that were traditionally intellectual Catholic circles that saw it like a possible modus vivendi. But again, you have this tribal or this religious national mindset that sees the opponent nation as Amalek, and if you translate Amalek into Russian or Slavic, it's Nazi. Okay, so it's genocidal. The entire nation is bad, and the church is basically responsible for it.
Why should the coastal part, the Dalmatian Banovina, become Croatian? Where is that coming from?
It was negotiated.
People gave you that later, so you own a lot of coast, and we don't. But
okay, it was.
You know what? Why should Banovina of Dalmatia, that coastal part, be strictly Croatian?
But it was negotiated that way in the former kingdom of Yugoslavia it was not ever implemented. But the negotiations, I suppose, took for some kind of base of the population that lives there. I mean, the coast was always Catholic from Albania
You
all the
got
way
the
up
part
to
of you got a part of Slavonia through that negotiation. There was no serious talk about the Adriatic coast. Adriatic coast was given to you by Tito, period.
but it
In
was
Jajce,
never.
Stolice, Kakanj negotiations. When
Well,
they
the
were
coast.
when the communists were drawing the maps, you know, like doodling on the maps, you know, same with Russia, same with Nikita Khrushchev making Ukraine independent.
Well,
And then
I don't know,
60, 70 years
Let me-
later, we have a bloodshed. This doodling on the maps is very dangerous.
okay, but
In perspective.
in Croatian case, the entire coastline, the entire Adriatic, eastern coast of the Adriatic is Catholic, basically from the north all the way to Albania. So basically, Catholics live there, and by this nationalist decoding, everybody that speaks the language and has a Catholic faith is somehow a Croatian. So,
And what is the gigantic Orthodox Church doing right in the middle of Dubrovnik? Still there.
yeah, of course, it was built by actually
other
it was paid
churches.
by the no, it was financed by the Austrians, because they had the Austrians had a bit of a problem with Croatian nationalism, and they wanted to play it down, and they wanted to make here to, by giving some kind of privileges to the Serbs, they kind of wanted to balance out the Croatian nationalist problem. So you have that in Montenegro too, where you have the Catholic Church being basically given to the Montenegrin Orthodox Church, and then was basically financed fully by the emperor in Austria. And to commemorate that, it was open on the emperor's birthday, and given to the Orthodox.
So someone was coming to these churches, obviously, the numerous Orthodox people who live there.
Well, it was
Okay,
it was a Catholic church before
Tony,
it was converted. So
Tony,
okay.
What are the centuries-old Cyrillic letters doing in the Dubrovnik archives?
Well, you have you have also Cyrillic use in let's say Balkan Catholic, let's say framework. So it's basically.
Can I say I'd like to go back to this conflict between Catholicism and nationalism, because it's happening right now in the United States. So you have now the resurgence with the collapse of Protestantism. You have the resurgence of white identity, and white identity is being promoted by the government now as a way of destroying the real identity of the people and maneuvering these people into a position where they're going to be easily defeated, as they were in Charlottesville. So if you get enough people to identify as white right now in the United States, you do not have any rights as a white person. Okay, yeah. This is a kind of nationalism. So that's right. There are like plenty of Jewish intellectuals like Noel Ignatieff who are ready there to demonize white people and to do this racial narrative that is basically a form of identity theft. So I got involved in this in St. Louis when the iconoclasts were going to tear down the statue of St. Louis, who was the patron saint of St. Louis. And he did this by saying that the people who wanted to preserve the statue were white supremacists. Well, it turns out that the white supremacists were saying the rosary. So they were Catholics, but this was identity theft. And then one of my former employees goes to Idaho now, and he's creating a new Catholic identity called white Catholicism. This is in the interest of the people who want to weaken the Catholic Church in the United States of America. It's a form of identity theft. And Idaho is a classic example of a nationalist enclave in the United States. This is where the FBI went and killed Randy Weaver in Ruby Ridge. This is where those people go. And now what you're seeing here is a form of identity theft, where nationalism is being promoted as white nationalism as a way of destroying Catholic identity. The reverse of what I did in St. Louis is now happening in Idaho because of my former employee.
The Catholics are partially responsible for that, because you have decades ago, together with this new idea, with this what's his name of this head of state, of the head of diplomacy, the Parolin crew. So their idea was to promote this. So basically, the idea was to combat Bolshevism by promoting Zionism. That's the same thing. Basically, it's the same principle was applied in the Catholic Church. So you will mount resistance to the American Empire by promoting national churches and the Orthodox. Okay, it is the same mistake, and the result is the surge of Medjugorje and all this white churches.
Medjugorje was incorporated into the anti-communist crusade.
Medjugorje was approved like maybe 10 years ago. No, a couple of years ago. It was one of the last statements of this Parolin administration. Okay, what communist crusade? We are talking about this nulla obstat. It was what, last year, 2 years ago? When was it?
It was Tuco Fernandez wrote a letter on Medjugorje saying, starts off by saying, we're not going to examine the moral lives of the seers.
What that has to do? Has nothing to do with any communist of any kind.
No, it's got to do with money laundering. The Vatican is involved in money laundering. The Vatican just came out and said that they're involved in money laundering. They have this operation there.
Okay.
And Medjugorje was a center of money laundering.
Yeah, it is some money laundering, but it's not that significant and not on that scale that can influence that kind of decisions. It's because
why not?
Medjugorje.
Why wouldn't it influence Tuco Fernandez to give his approval when he's obviously not going to talk about whether the seers are lying or not? There's no other justification.
Because it goes in line with this church policy of supporting, the Orthodox national churches, of blocking the Stepinac canonization, and of that kind of political statement, and signing a deal with the Chinese government. It's very in line with their policy.
Are we agreeing? Are we agreeing or are we disagreeing?
No, you are saying that it has nothing to do with supporting the national churches and the Orthodox, and it's solely one man getting.
No, I didn't say that. I said it had nothing to do with the anti-communist crusade. That's over. With geopolitics, yeah, okay. I don't think it has anything to do with geopolitics now. I think it has to do with money laundering at the Vatican. And I think
there is some money laundering. I cannot. But it does go in line with geopolitics.
A member of the Bosnian parliament wrote to me and explained the money laundering, and he's a good friend of Bishop Perković.
I know.
They threw Perković under the bus. Zonic is dead. These are the two courageous bishops who stood up to the Medjugorje fraud, and now the new regime under Francis throws them under the bus.
Okay. Mike, a lot of people were thrown under the bus. Okay, like Stepinac was thrown under the bus. Then the Chinese underground church was thrown under the bus, and Bishop Perković was thrown under the bus. So you have some money laundering, but the big picture is, what do these people have in common? They're all behind the ideas of the universal church, and the political, let's say, and the political class and the political vision was Parolin was basically a diplomat, and his solution to curb the Americans was, we'll support these mushrooming national churches, and we'll do diplomatic deals between them. We'll do the deal with the Chinese party. We'll support the Orthodox, and we'll support this new church here, this new church there, this nationalist church there. So now you have the fruits of it. Okay.
I think you're right in saying that the Franciscans were creating a Croatian national church. I don't think.
Yes, and the Chinese Communist Party was creating a communist national church, and the Orthodox are always having a national church, but under this administration they were fully supported. They are the way to go. Okay.
I would add one thing regarding Stepinac. We always talk about Stepinac when we had a podcast. It's always mentioned. It's interesting. That's why I would like to mention one thing about him. Canonization of Stepinac is a Croatian political project similar to German political project by historian Aleksandar Vučić. He is serving for Croatia distancing Croatians distancing themselves from the Nazi past, from Jasenovac, from Holocaust they committed. And if the Stepinac becomes canonized, Croatian would have a good argument. They say, you see, we have a person who suffered during the World War, you have a person who suffered during Titoism, we're not so bad, blah, blah, blah. Similar thing was done by historian revisionist in Germany, Alexander Korbev and his circle. They were trying to equate the horrors of Nazism and the horrors of Bolshevism, kind of make it.
Can I say something here?
Yeah, I would like to say something.
That will be less guilt for Germans. That will diminish the collective guilt of Germany.
Yeah.
Let me just say something. The Jewish narrative has always been to conflate Catholicism and Nazism. They've always tried to do that. It does not work. I'm sorry, it does not work. And the proof of it is Dachau. All of the Catholic priests that were held at Dachau. And
I'm not saying that, Mike. I'm not equating Nazis and Catholic Church. God forbid.
Well, this is the same thing as conflating Stepinac with the Ustasha.
Well, this is another thing.
Well, in
Alexander,
some people, he was doing well with Ustasha. He wasn't suffering at Ustasha. I show you on our first podcast a photo where he's sitting comfortably in the cabinet of Mr. Pavelić. And come on, let's not play games here.
We should not play games.
A flexible guy.
We're gonna have
What are you trying to say is that what Croatians are like genocidal and guilty of being the Nazis and of massacring.
No, I'm stating the facts.
We
didn't have discussion about Jasenovac, proper one, not yet.
Okay, the thing about Jasenovac, what is now being always brought up, what I can remember about Jasenovac is before the Yugoslav wars were begun. You had this project. We had a 60-minute film about Jasenovac that was made by the Yugoslav People's Army, their psychological division or whatever, propaganda division or whatever. That was obligatory for looking for everybody. I think it was the 89 or the early 90s. So every soldier had to look this piece. It was a 60-minute film. It was a preparation for the war in Yugoslavia. And of the 60 minutes of the film, 58 minutes were total invention. And how do I know that? I know that because you don't have any single incriminating photograph or a movie clip from Jasenovac.
There is. We have in our.
There is not. There is not.
We have in our. Tony.
If you let me just say something here.
I'll send you some photos.
If you read Magnum Cremen, the main point that Avram Manhattan is trying to make here is that Jasenovac was a Catholic operation. They bring in this Fra Satana and all this other type of stuff. That is the whole point of that propaganda, and that's what led to the persecution of Stepinac after the war.
But
I'm not here. I'm not an expert about this. There was, of course, that Serbs were killed at Jasenovac and all of that. I'm not. I mean, what can I say about it? But what I what you can read, I mean, in the open source documents, is you have a lot of eyewitnesses and a lot of testimonials and stuff.
Oh yes, we
But
do.
if you
Still
look
alive.
if you look at the let's say the photographic evidence, you don't have it, and you have some 7 exhumations projects that exhume some 300 people, and
the other thing I said.
Hold on. No, this is a grave accusation. I have to answer. Sorry.
Yeah.
In the 60s, Mr. Živanović, who was a pathologist from Serbia, young, naive pathologist, he was in his 30s. Yugoslav officials asked a pathologist to organize his team and to go to Jasenovac and dig dead bodies. Most of the pathologists who were experienced shy away from that task because they knew it was a political trap. So that young guy, Živanović, he picked his team, went to Jasenovac, started digging, came up to 450,000 dead. Then the communists stopped the digging and sent the guy outside of the country. They sent him to Great Britain, where he became a member of the Medical Society of England as a pathologist. He wrote a lot about that.
Okay, Alexander, I don't want to go into that.
They stopped at 450,000. That's important to say. Second, Tony,
okay.
We have photos.
Just
we have reels. We have photos of the Jasenovac. I can send you a few. And also in 2019 in Scotland, there was by accident discovered the archive of the aerial shots of the Jasenovac done by the Allies from the air. The size of the Jasenovac was 50 football fields. You don't do that for a small number of people, such a big camp. That's all I have to say.
Okay, I won't go in there because I really don't know. But I know one thing. When I was in this faculty of economics, in the Croatian Cathedral of Demographics is in the faculty of economics. And speaking with the professor there, that was, by the way, the professor that was left over from the socialist times. The old professors are always the same, okay? So he's the second generation. Professors from the first generation were determining the number of people died in the Second World War in order to get the reparations from Germany, okay? So I know the guy told us how they got the number, okay? So do you have the demographical data that is pretty much recent, okay? We have good archives here. It's more or less public knowledge. And he said that in all of the 6 republics, so the conversation was this way, okay? They wanted to stretch the number to be as high as possible to get as much reparations possible from the Germans, okay? And so the demographer said, okay, if we count the number of dead and we died, killed and stuff, and we add the let's say the potential loss, so the people that would have been born if there was no war. So if there was no war, maybe somebody would get married and had children and stuff, but it was war, so it did not happen. So we can calculate that kind of loss, and we could stretch it a bit, and we can arrive to 1 million. Okay, we can arrive to 1 million, but the party wanted like 2 millions. So none of the 3 professors of demographics in the Belgrade at that meeting wanted to sign that kind of stuff. So they found some mathematics student, some student of math on his 3rd year that signed a number of 1,700,000 total demographic loss in the Second World War in all 6 republics. So that's the official.
Okay,
that's the story about.
All right, let me say.
You're telling them now in a single camp that okay, I'm not. It's really not a point. I was hoping kind of big stories like. I think that nationalism versus universalism is a big topic now, and it is changing because with this new pope, let's say this Parolin idea got torpedoed because of the Chinese. Thank God. So because he signed the deal with the Chinese, made the Bishop of Hong Kong or some Chinese guy that opposed this, let's say, voiced his concern in the conclave, and that's how we got how we avoided the Pope Parolin. Okay.
That was.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Before we finish, that was my next question for Tony. Tony, you're in Rome now, as I understand, right?
Yes.
Any impressions? I love Rome, and it makes me schizophrenic. Although I oppose very much Catholic Church politics, I love Rome. It's my favorite capital in Europe, out of all I've seen. So, any impressions regarding, I don't know, Vatican politics, mood of the people, etc.? On a lighter note, let's finish this podcast on a lighter note.
Okay, so how is in Rome? My trip coincided with the pilgrimage, it's called the Youth Pilgrimage of Hope. So you have like a couple 100,000 of young people with the flags pilgrimaging here, and trying to get to the Vatican. And there is a lot of tourists and a lot of people lives in Rome anyway. So the crowds are enormous, and you have all these young people that are kind of feel like strange because they are so happy and chanting.
So is it like crowded, right?
Yeah, crowded. So it's impossible to get to the St. Peter's Square. I went to the museums. I took my kids to the museums. It was a river of people. A lot of stuff that were not being charged when I was last time here. I remember that going into the Pantheon free. Now you have to buy a ticket. You have crowds everywhere. So if you're going to Rome, avoid the youth pilgrimages or pilgrimages of any kind. But it's like staggering. You have like huge number of basilicas. You have this unbelievable art collection.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you that I had a chance to listen to Pope Francis twice in 5 days?
No.
In Rome. Yeah, because I had the apartment in a very good neighborhood, very close to Vatican, like 5 minutes by foot. I stayed for my holiday in 2014. And once on Tuesday, I went by accident and saw Pope Francis addressing 30,000 Germans who came to pilgrimage. And I was like, and I listened to Pope Francis, and I was impressed by his knowledge of German language, I must say.
He studied for a PhD in Germany.
Yeah, he very good German, although I don't speak German fluently, but I have an ear. His German was mwah. And the second time I went on Sunday morning, purposely, to see the thing of Big Mass when Pope shows on the window, and all the TV stations, broadcast the Mass, and it was a good experience. But I heard that it's practically impossible to see the Sixtine Chapel nowadays, the Michelangelo's paintings. It's closed for broad audience. It's open for just special guests. Is that true, Tony?
No, I just was today in Sixtine Chapel, so it's possible to go there. But
it's possible to see Michelangelo, right?
Yeah. It's okay. But it's like a river of people, so you don't have much time. There are people like hurrying you up. Go. Like, okay, just wait a minute. I just came.
Right.
But you can avoid it. You can spend some 5-10 minutes.
Because there was a plan to shut it down. I read it in several Catholic newspapers and websites, and they were planning to restrict the area. Because a lot of actually tourists with their cameras and the temperature changes on a daily level were actually affecting the longevity of the fresco painting on the ceiling.
I think we took a group to Venice, and Venice has become a big museum. It was impossible to get through Venice. There were so many people there, and this was not the high season. Anyway, there's one thing I wanted to say. We're going to end it. we're going to end this, but I wanted to say that I had a conversation with Bishop Perković. Okay, after I had written the book, the Medjugorje deception begins with the atrocity at Shermanci, where the Serbs were killed.
Yes.
Yeah, thrown it. And the mayor of Shermanci put that up on his website, put the first chapter on my book on his website. So with this in mind, I said to Perković, what we need to do is get together. We'll get Serbs and Croats together, and we'll go over the archives, and we'll come up with a commonly accepted history of what happened in Yugoslavia during the war. Okay, one problem. There are no archives. Perković told me that after Tito took over, a truck pulled up at the Diocese of Mostar's archives, emptied the archives, and drove off, and no one knows where they are anymore. So
we have some, trust me, from this side of the border.
This is part of the problem here. Part of the problem.
Yeah. The part of the problem is also okay. What you would like to go back to this. What you say, the relationship between this singer and Medjugorje. Well, all the way until I would say maybe a couple of years ago, he was very cautious. It wasn't mentioned. But I think that he is now slowly, it is biting his way. It is growing into his opus. But I think that the church is also partly responsible. I mean, the church policy is partly responsible.
Absolutely.
Primarily by not condoning it.
That's right.
By condoning it.
The main
and by this political decision about all these national and Eastern churches. I mean, it is a part of the same coin. You know, you have like a couple of millions of Catholics in the Ukraine. You have this Chinese underground church in China, and you have Bishop Perković, you have Stepinac, so you are throwing them all under the bus here. I mean,
the man who should have acted was Pope John Paul II. He could have killed this thing when it was born, and he did not do it because of the anti-communist crusade, because he wanted something like Solidarity South, and that's what Medjugorje was. It was a Catholic nationalist movement that he used for the overthrow of communism, and that monster.
No. I think that you're. It may be.
No. Yes.
Okay. Aleksandar, tell me what you think. Did Medjugorje had any influence on the fall of communism in Yugoslavia?
It did.
It did.
It did. It bears the increased national sentiment among many.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Also, I spoke to Frank Shakespeare when he was ambassador to the Vatican. I met with him.
No, wait. Okay.
And also, he brought some repulsion among the Serbs. Plain and simple. I can go into details more, but we're at the end. So
we're at the end here.
Okay, just 1 minute.
No one wants to stop.
I would like. What?
Huh? I'm sorry.
Okay, just Mike.
What's the question?
So basically, I see it a bit different. You know, the nationalism and the regime. Did it affect the fall of communism in Yugoslavia? Well, first of all, I see this as two kind of problems. One is called the communist party and communist rule, and the other one is nationalism that is not necessarily connected to this one. Okay, and then you had in Croatia, you have it was called the Croatian Spring. It was before that. It was in the 70s. So it was, and all these Croatian nationalists were more or less imprisoned. So it has been dealt with, and the Serb nationalist rising was, I think, the anti-bureaucratic revolutions. It has this this national
Tony,
church.
My dear friend, it was all concoction of UDBA. Trust me.
The anti-bureaucratic revolution.
All of that crap that happened prior to 90s, even nowadays.
But I see the anti-bureaucratic revolution as having hugely way more deeper and more important impact than the Medjugorje stuff. It just did not. I don't see it having the effect on the federal government and on the let's say on the Republican.
Millions of dollars flowed into Medjugorje from the pilgrims, and how much of that money ended up in the bank of the Franciscans, and how much how much of that money was used to buy weapons?
First of all, the communism fell in Croatia in 1948. Okay, when the secret police in Yugoslavia broke the alliance with the Russian secret service, with the Comintern, and signed the agreement with the CIA. So, in the minute that the official, let's say, security apparatus has a signed agreement with the CIA, you cannot talk about any kind of real communism in this world. And plus, you have now just to get you in the picture, okay? You have now U.S. allegedly supporting Ukraine, and you have like 30 American tanks in Ukraine. Yugoslavia got 1,350 American tanks, okay? So what kind of anti-communism or CIA operation are you talking about? It happened in the 50s, for God's sake. So it's totally the story about, you know, CIA toppling, you know, communism in Croatia, in Yugoslavia. It was a fake communism anyway, okay? Yeah. My grandfather,
whatever it was in control.
It was run by the CIA. Why to topple it by the CIA?
Whatever it was, it worked.
Yeah, it worked. Maybe. Yeah, the CIA, the Americans are better communists than the Russians, I guess. Yeah, but it was American run and American owned.
The link between Medjugorje and the Ustasha was established by Jozo Zovko when he put the gear on the altar.
Okay, there you have again. You have the Croatian nationalism, okay, and the Ustashas, let's say the godless nationalists, the nationalists that disregard this Unitarian and universal aspect of the church. But you have the same guys on the other side, and their guys on the Time magazine cover. So, what is your point? There in the Belgrade, you have now the guy that is, let's say, the Serbian counterpart to the Pavelić, to the Ustasha theater, has its street and its museum in Belgrade, and you don't see a problem there.
Who?
Well, the guy with the Lennon glasses, the Mihajlović guy.
No. Mihajlović is loathed by the Serbian UDBA.
It's a Serb nationalist.
I've been there, Tony. It's a small monument within a building in a small street.
Okay, but it's called the museum to this guy. I mean, imagine in Croatia the museum.
It's a restaurant now. It's restaurant. You go for coffee and brioche there. It's a joke. It's a farce.
But okay, it's some kind of official recognition to the guy.
It's a farcical recognition. The real recognition of Mihajlović you have in Ravna Gora, flat mountain area, where there is a serious monument in a village called Ba. It's actually a German name because on the old German, Ba means water, Wasser. Anyway, in that village, there is a serious big monument to Mihajlović, but that's in the mountains, you know. Just like Bleiburg,
so
just like Bleiburg for Croats, you keep it away.
Okay. We're half an hour, almost a half an hour over here.
God bless you.
We have. Thanks for this intense discussion. Let's continue it.
The southern blood, you know.
Right. Here I am.
Okay, Mike.
Okay.
Anyway. Take care.
Thanks for having us. Okay.